All right, so let's dive right into it. 25 years, cool. All right, so just because you're old doesn't mean you're dead, right? Tom Amberley, great example, record free throw holder, hit 2,700 free throws, and didn't miss a single one. And he was 71 years old when he did it. And this one is a favorite of mine because, fun fact, I actually paved Colonel Sanders' driveway when I was growing up in Louisville, Kentucky as a kid. And so Harlan Sanders, who is the founder of Kentucky Fried Chicken, started KFC in retirement as a side hustle. He spent most of his life running a gas station and doing other sorts of mechanical sorts of jobs, running construction equipment, etc. And he started KFC in retirement, and within 7 years, it was the biggest franchise brand in the world. Herb Lubalin, who he started an agency at 46. He started some really pivotal magazines in design, Eros Fact. He actually, one of the magazines was called Avant-Garde. He also is the creator and designer of the Avant-Garde font, another fun fact. And David Carson, who is one of my, idols, he became a designer at 41 after like a life of being a surfer. And by 62, he was one of the most famous designers in the world, having started Ray-Gun magazine and really kind of completely breaking the mold in terms of what was acceptable or considered to be graphic design. And so there are people who are older in their careers or starting their journey later who have made and do make an incredible impact. So let's talk about ageism in the creative industry. So in 1967, there was a legislation in the United States called the Age Discrimination Employment Act. And what that did was supposedly made it illegal to fire people because of their age up until a certain point. And if you could prove that you were fired or terminated for your age, you had a case against the company, the firing company. And so, but here's the problem. That legislation is still in effect, but it is incredibly and notoriously hard to prove. And companies over the last 50 years have figured out how to get around this and how to either reorganize departments or make people redundant or change a manager or manufacture some sort of cause for laying people off. Eliminating positions is another big one. And then 3 months later, the position will, magically reappear and be rehired with someone else. And so ageism is a thing. And it is particularly bad in the creative industries. It's a real problem. A while back, there was an article on LinkedIn called "Where Have All the 40-Year-Old Creative Directors Gone?" And this was particularly around the advertising industry, but there were 2,500 responses to this article, and they were all people sharing their stories of having been made redundant or experiencing ageism in the creative industries. And the industries that are particularly bad are advertising. Advertising is one of the worst. If you're 40 years old, just like the article said, and you're, still working as a creative director, you're on borrowed time. Tech industry is probably the worst. The average age of someone working at Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn is 29 years old in the creative industries. There was an article in the New York Times a couple of years ago, actually, about 30 and 40-year-old tech workers who were feeling intense pressure from the companies that they were working for about their age, and they were so freaked out about it. They started going to this retreat in Baja California to kind of deal with that emotional pressure of being 30 or 40 years old in the tech industry. And so ageism is a real thing. And it's a little bit about how the creative economy, which is, new and strong and a thing and gaining traction and probably one of the strongest and most important aspects of the economy now that every company needs to be a media company, it's now kind of meeting the consulting economy. As you know, people have been moving from full-time, and COVID like put rocket fuel and, kind of lighter fluid on top of this fire, was that, there was this movement from full-time employment to consulting or part-time or, permalancer sort of employment. And so that's been a societal movement in work over the last 5 to 8 years. And so the creative economy and the consulting economy are kind of converging, and particularly driven in this case sometimes by ageism. And while there are more opportunities than ever, and it's the better time than ever to be a creative person, the global economy has been driving down prices. And now we have the influx of AI and design automation software. The industry is really, really changing. It's changing fast, and it's considerably less stable. And that is evidenced by a study that I want to show you. The AIGA 5 years ago did a study. They don't do this study every year because it's very comprehensive and it takes a long time to aggregate all the data. This is the last big one that they did, the 2019 design census. And what they found then, and this was, as I said, 5 years ago, right? They found that for designers and creative professionals, the feeling of job security was 4% rock solid, 22% fairly stable, a little concerned at 58%, and it could end at any time at 16%. So 4% being rock solid or fairly stable being up to like 26%, that paints a really dire picture in terms of how people are feeling about job security. And another stat from the same study, and this one's really important, I want you guys to pay attention to, because this is really the meat of what I'm going to be talking about today, which is that when you look at the age of designers who are currently working in the field, 64% are between 22 and 35 years old. 25% are between 35 and 50 years old. Only 11% of designers are 50 or over. And so that employment thing of designers literally falls off a cliff at about the age 50, and 60 above is like 1%. So my question is, where do all those designers go? Or do they just stop designing at 50? There are a lot of creative professionals who get made redundant or they get laid off at 45, 50, they cannot find another job, and then they have to figure out how to make a living. And in today's economy, you got to keep working till 65 or 68, right? So you got another 15 years, 18 years of working if you get laid off at 55 and can't find another full-time job as a creative professional, and you got to figure out how you're going to make a living. And that's some of what we're going to be talking about today. But that's a statistic reality that I want you guys to pay really, really close attention to here. I'm not trying to fear monger. I'm trying to reality monger here. And I personally have also seen it in action with a lot of people I coach, people in my community, people in my, 7,000 people in my Facebook community, and throughout my 30-year career. It is a real thing. So one thing I want to just point out really quickly is that if you have a question as I go through this, just put question in all caps in the chat, and so I can see where your question is. So I'm not going to answer questions as I go through the presentation, but I will scroll back through the chat to pick up questions when we end. And so if you put question in all caps, I can see it easily as I'm scrolling through quicker. Okay, so that's just a little heads up. All right, now I want to tell you a very quick story. This is the story of H. H is an actual friend of mine, and about 3 months ago, H was a 50-year-old creative director at a major tech company, a creative industry tech company. And he had been 20 years with that company. He was in good standing. He was a very accomplished person. And there was a reorganization at this company, and he got his manager that he'd had for 10 or 15 years left the company, and he got a new manager. He didn't quite jibe, or this manager didn't feel, as strongly about him, or didn't click with him. And he was made redundant and his position was eliminated. And he was put out on the street with 2 months of severance after 20 years of working for this company, which to me was absolutely shocking. Generally, big companies give you anywhere from two weeks of severance for every year you've worked with the company. But anyway, so this was clearly ageism, and it is incredibly difficult to prove. My friend H had no personal brand. He had no real website. He hadn't updated his LinkedIn thing in like a decade. He had no real portfolio, was completely outdated, and he had to get moving on this stuff like from 0 to 60. It's a terrifying scenario. And I can't tell, H is just one of the stories, one of the people that I have heard this from. I get DMs in LinkedIn all the time about people saying I was made redundant, my position was eliminated, there was a reorganization, my company was acquired, my agency was acquired, and I've now been out on the street looking for a job. I've applied to 250 jobs and I haven't received a single call back. Those are the sorts of things that keep me up at night and are why I'm doing this live stream here today. And so what are some of the perceptions of older creatives? The perceptions that are in industry of older creatives are that we're not as creative, we can't innovate, we don't understand younger buyers, which is crazy. Like younger buyers can understand older buyers. I don't know. There's, you understand. They can't keep up with tech. They can't navigate the new social platforms. They cost too much, which is true. So if you've been in your role for a long time and you've gone up and gotten salary increases and promotions, you may be one of the higher salaries. And a lot of times, when you get up there in salary, they go, management says, oh, we could hire 2 junior designers for this one salary of this other person, and that might be a better use of our money, right? So, and another kind of conception or perception of older creatives is that we're less flexible or less willing to work long hours, or that we're easily confused, or that we're less social. And in some cases, yeah, people as they get older, they want to have a better work-life balance, and they have seen a lot of stuff, and they start to realize what's really important in life, and they may, kind of prioritize, living a little more than super younger people who are ready to burn the midnight oil at a bat of an eye. But that's some of the perceptions that people and companies have of older creatives. Now, there are a lot of advantages of being an older creative too, and I'm speaking to a wall here basically, but I wanted to share with you what I think are really strong things about older creatives, and that's that we have more design experience, obviously, and therefore a greater and broader perspective and understanding of design. We have a historical knowledge of design and design trends. We have a historical knowledge of, in many cases, the brands that we've been working with. And many times we are the brand repository for the clients we've been working for years and years. We're the brand guardians. We understand older and younger buyers. We communicate more maturely. We have a higher level of emotional intelligence, EQ as they call it. We have more experience navigating complex client problems. That's a real big one, is that, as you get more mature, you've seen more, you've been through more difficult situations, you have a better idea of how to navigate and to negotiate and communicate in tense client situations. And we generally have more holistic business experience or understanding of the full life cycle, or the full life cycle of business or design or marketing. And we're just generally better at decision making. We have more experience in that as well. A lot of that just completely falls on deaf ears. But all of those things, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is that all of those advantages we have as older creatives are the things that we have to embrace and amplify and celebrate as we prepare ourselves for this cliff that is coming. And so I will get to that a little bit more later. And so here's some, if some of you here are younger designers, this is some of my advice to you. You guys do good? I know I'm just blabbing along here. I'm going to take a break. I'm just slowly coming to terms with the fact that I hit that whole tech hurdle at the beginning. I can't tell you how many times I checked the technology, and then when I went live and ran my pre-scripts, my little videos and stuff, and then it just croaks and chokes, and it's just like, Jesus. Anyway, so I'm all cool now. So if you're a younger creative, here's my advice to you. Getting into your career journey, get this in your head right now. Your career has a shelf life. Chances are you are not going to be working as a graphic designer or an art director or a senior designer or a creative director or executive, creative director until you're 65 years old, unless you own the agency that you work for. This is the one caveat. If you own the company that you work for, or you are a principal of one or two or three people in an agency, yeah, you can, work into your 60s or 70s or more, but you've literally got to be a stakeholder in the organization that you're working for. Because age 25 to 45 is prime time. And from 45 on, you really have to start paying attention, right? In that period of 25 to 45, you want to maximize your ambition. You want to maximize your earning power. One of the things you need to realize in your role is that as you go through your career as a designer, non-management positions have a salary ceiling. When you get up to senior designer or you're not managing people, you may be the type who doesn't really want to manage people. You don't have that aptitude. But one of the things you have to understand is that you will hit a salary cap and you will not go above that. Most companies and agencies have what they call salary bands, which are tied to titles. And if you don't get into the management level, your salary will hit a ceiling and you won't be going any farther. So keep that in mind, which is another a reason why you should try to broaden your skill set. And when companies hire designers, they hire for a T-shaped skill set. You guys might have heard me talk about this before, but a T-shaped skill set is where you have very little knowledge or capability in a lot of things, and you have super deep capabilities in one thing. Companies love that. They hire you for the deep knowledge in the one thing. They don't really hire larger organizations for generalists. But when you become independent, or when you start working for, with smaller teams, you have to start developing a V-shaped skill set where you have a deep knowledge in 1, 2, or 3 things, and then varying capability sets in other things like finance and business development, organization, IT, things like that. And so you want to start nurturing those things and understanding that even though you may be operating with a T-shaped skill set right now, you want to pay attention to and nurture as you move into your 30s and 40s, a broader range of skill sets, because you are going to need them. And so the goal for you is you want to reduce the level of control that your employer has over you and your career longevity, because eventually your career longevity, your career insurance, will rely on your own learning and your own ownership of what it is that you're doing. So you got to be, as you move up in those years, you have to be prepared for layoffs and really have your antenna up as you age. So, what can you do? Let's talk about embracing change and staying relevant. So, you want to stay current on apps and programs and social platforms. This is the to-do list for you if you want to make sure that you're maximizing your career if you're working for working for an agency or a company. You want to stay current on social platforms. You want to stay current in design trends. You want to make sure that you're embracing ongoing learning. Take courses that have certifications. Stay current on hardware and software, and, get smart on AI. I know that people are freaking out about AI and it's encroaching on a whole lot of levels of our creative industries. whole lot of different roles in our creative industries, but it's like the advent of computers. You have to embrace it. You have to learn it, because we as the creatives are the ones who are going to be using it for the companies and agencies that we work for. So embrace AI, get in there, poke around, figure out how it can be used and how you can bring it in force to the companies that you're working for. Build a network, keep that network warm, and more on that later. And keep your websites updated, keep your social media platforms updated, keep them current. Another thing is you want to be future focused. And that is one of the pieces of baggage that older creatives have, is that they're sometimes seen as being that person, right? You want the person who says, oh, we used to do X, Y, and Z, or always better when we did this thing. And to a certain extent, I want you to try to forget the past and live in the present. You want to catalog your past. You want to capture and keep a record and a history of your past and your accomplishments on your LinkedIn profile and on your resume. But you don't want to be that person. You don't want to be that old fart who's like, oh, we used to do it this way in the old days, right? Another thing about your LinkedIn profile is you don't want to have it be about, I'm so passionate about X, Y, and Z. What you want to do is you want to quantify it as much as possible. Clients don't care what you're passionate about. Clients and the people who are going to hire you want results. So you want to kind of capture what it is that you've accomplished in your career and keep a catalog of that stuff as you're accomplishing things, and keep that up to date on your LinkedIn profile and on your resume, and keep it as metrics driven as possible. So numbers, stats, percentages, initiatives, results of marketing campaigns that you were involved in, who you solved those for, your client list. Those are the sorts of things that you want to be really focused on. And that future focus is going to act as a bit of career insurance for you. And again, you also want to be, this is to a certain extent that V-shape and T-shape skill set thing again, right? You want to niche down. You want to be really great and incredible at one thing, but you really have to learn how to build and also then reveal that broader skill set wherever possible. You want to communicate what your superpower is, that T-shaped part of your skill set, but you also want to, over time, build this back pocket insurance policy of your V-shaped skill set. So learning things like brand strategy, learning things like finance, technology, social media marketing, paid advertising, email marketing, content marketing, platform development, etc. And you can do that through building a network and starting to work with or nurturing relationships with specialty partners. This is super important. It's one of the most important parts of building career insurance, and more on this later. Okay, so put a bookmark in that. And when you're asked to flex that broader skill set, that back pocket stuff that you're learning, when you're asked, can we do this? The answer for you is always yes. The answer is yes, we can do it. And then you go figure it out, or you find someone who does it and you get them to help you figure it out. But being resourceful is one of those things that comes with maturity in your career and in your position. And that's one of the things that you want to make sure that you're really nurturing and you're really embracing in terms of your professional development. Next thing is, don't be old. Like I said previously, it's like you don't want to be that guy who's, we used to do it this way in the old times and, blah, blah, blah. And I remember when fonts were rub on, and, you don't want to date yourself. You want to stay healthy. You want to stay fit. You want to eat right. You got to be full of energy. You got to be full of enthusiasm. One of the biggest complaints that companies have for older workers is that they are jaded, meaning they carry too much baggage. And younger people, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, don't have any history, don't have any experience, so everything's fantastic and positive, and they don't see the bumps in the road ahead. So you can know about the bumps in the road ahead and plan for them and manage them as they come, but you don't want to be the Debbie Downer and saying, we got to watch out for this, we got to watch out for this, because it's a negative, it's drag on people. And by the same token, you can be the gray hair in the room, right? And you can you can embrace that. Clients respect it. Even if your boss doesn't respect it, clients respect it. They expect that and respect that level of experience. And also emotional maturity, that EQ, that emotional intelligence, that also really counts. So here's some of my advice. You guys tracking with me? Shannon, Hardy Design. Hey, good to see you. Jason, Harwick, Kripa, you guys tracking? All right. You want to start building your solo foundation early. What I mean by this is that you want to think about your professional capability set as your infrastructure, okay? You have to start building that broader palette, that broader toolbox, because this is the toolbox that is going to make you look more valuable to your current employer, but it's also going to be the things that are preparing you for that jumping off point, that cliff that is coming, and I tell you it is coming. And so learning things like project management, using tools like Mondays or, Airtable or Asana, website builders, WordPress, Webflow, Wix Studio, Squarespace, social platforms, Threads, Instagram, Facebook, all the platforms, content creation or curation, starting to get involved in that. If you're not putting out content or you're not even curating and posting interesting or valuable content to who your clients or colleagues might be, that's something you want to start kind of moving your gears on. Marketing, learning content marketing, meaning attraction marketing, and promotion marketing, meaning paid advertising. Upping your financial acumen, so learning about financial payment systems and financial tracking software in terms of tracking expenses, learning how to read a balance sheet, cost, an income sheet. Learning those sorts of things as you are employed is one of those insurance, and bump. So when you hit the cliff, you have the squirrel suit on and you're not going to go plummeting like, the coyote. You are going to soar. So learning these things and starting to kind of move your gears on these in advance is a smart thing to do. You do not, and listen to me on this, if you're doing something else and you're multitasking, stop that and listen to me for a second. You do not want to be starting learning these things when you get laid off, because that means you're going to be figuring all this shit out for 6 months or a year before you're really gaining traction. You want to start getting these things in place and these learnings in place and these mechanisms and toolbox tools in place before it happens, okay? And you want to really consider your chapter 2, because there will be a chapter 2. I like to say that a great career is more like a web than a ladder. Very few careers are single, vertical, direct lines of promotion and salary. There are jogs and side jogs and barriers and dead ends that happen in any creative professional's life. And so you have to prepare for that chapter 2. One of the exploration, how I said earlier in the presentation, how, it falls off the cliff in terms of demographics for 50 plus creative professionals. Well, one of the explanations I've heard around that is that people either have lost interest or they burned out or they've hit some sort of midlife, change thing that's happened to them and they've had to pivot into something else. And that is possible. But a lot of times it's because they have not focused on building this skill set to make a transition into some sort of a solo business model or a consulting business model or a partnership business model possible. And it becomes a much more kind of tragic, pivotal moment in their career because they're not prepared for it. And so, again, you want to focus on building your understanding of intellectual product delivery. So not just graphic design or music or writing or whatever the creative is that you deliver, but things like brand strategy and consulting and thought leadership and business consulting or coaching, things like project management or product management, You can think about education. So could you start to be an educator? Could you do some courses on a local university or a community college? Could you develop online courses? Could you develop physical products like books or design or apparel? You can start to nurture passion projects like writing or painting or photography. You can start working on your understanding of business development. So how you get clients, right? Pitching, winning, how you negotiate, how you vet new client prospects, how you qualify them as being a real prospect or not. Those are the sorts of things that if you're sitting there in your easy chair working for your company or agency, leveraging your T-shaped skill set, and you hit that cliff edge, and then suddenly you wake up and you're like, I don't have any of these other skills. Trust me, spend a little time. Spend an hour a week, like literally an hour a week, 2 hours a week, starting to noodle on this stuff. You're going to thank me, I guarantee you. It's going to happen before you're ready. That's the reality. And so you want to look at the data. Think about that data that I shared before. Realize that eventually you will be on your own, or you're going to have to figure out something else, because chances are full-time employment at an agency or company is not in your future after about age 45. And so when it finally does happen, you want to make sure that you have the skills and experience, and then you can hire yourself, because when it comes down to it, no one else will. And the biggest piece of insurance that you can build for yourself is building a personal brand. When you work for someone else, you're building their brand. When you work for yourself, you're building your own brand. When you build a personal brand, you're building your own brand, and it's something that you can take with you wherever you go. And it doesn't matter who you're employed with. You are owning your own land. You're not living on rented land anymore. And so there's only a few pieces of land that you actually own. There's your website, there's your email list, and there's your personal brand. That's it. Everything else is social in one way or another, and those platforms go poof. Perfect example, Twitter, which is a dumpster fire now, and people are leaving it in droves. People who have built million-dollar brands on Twitter are leaving because of what it's become. And so social platforms and content platforms can go poof. So you really have to think about what it is that you own. And I want you to think about 4 pillars. And these are 4 key pillars of building a personal brand. 1, become credible. So you got to know your shit. Like, you really have to understand and know what it is that you do really well. Number 2, you want to become visible. You have to start developing some content, start showing up on social in a professional manner. You have to establish a presence. You want to be in feed and also in real life, in conferences, in events, in meetups, etc. Number 3, you want to deliver value. You have to fix a client's problem or fix a follower's problem. You have to know how and what value it is that you are bringing to the table and what it does to solve your client's problem. And number 4 is you want to build authority, and authority is built over time. You want to document the times you have fixed and helped clients through their problems. You want to document those transformations, and you want to develop an archive of stories that you can use as you pitch new clients or new prospects to kind of add that level of credibility to you and your own personal brand. And you need to build a meaningful network. This falls into the category of stuff that I wish I knew when I started off my career. People change jobs all the time. Chances are, if you're full-time employed in a company or agency, within 3 to 4 years, 60% of the people that you work with right now are going to be working at another company. And it's really important that you know this, because those colleagues that you have, if you become friends with them, you become familiar with them, you stay in touch with them, you keep that connection warm, those are going to be the people that get your resume or your portfolio on the desk of a hiring manager when something happens. And so building that meaningful network is, and I don't mean just LinkedIn connections. It's not like I have 5,000 connections on LinkedIn. How many of those people do you actually DM, talk to, do a Zoom with every quarter and just say hi and shoot the shit and get to know them personally, where they could do that for you if you were made redundant or you got laid off, and then suddenly you needed to get your resume or portfolio on the desk of a hiring manager and not shoot it off into the black hole of despair that is the online job application kind of system now, right? So you want to build that network, keep that network warm. And because that network is also going to serve you for where your clients are going to come from when you're eventually solo. Those people are going to be working at companies that you could get work from. Your ex-clients from the company or agency that you're working from could become your new clients. And then you also just don't really want to hide. You don't want to not show up in real life. Go to conferences, go to events, press the flesh, meet people in person. It really matters. I know it's hard. A lot of creative people are introverted and we just want to sit behind our computer and we want to push the mouse and do the thing and get paid. And like, you know, I understand it because I am very much that way myself. I am a super introvert. I'm great on Zoom. I can talk to a camera and when my camera doesn't freeze. And, but in real life, I struggle. I'm a bit of an introvert. Always have been. So, but I force myself out of my comfort zone to do that. And one of the best things that you can do, one of the absolute best things that you can do, and this is that super secret hack of building career insurance for yourself that is going to make the difference between falling off the cliff or having that squirrel suit on as Wile E. Coyote and making a very smooth landing is, drumroll please, it's who you know and what you know that matters. You need to develop a meaningful network. A network that can get you work. That's the thing. Because when you're suddenly out on your own, you're going to need partners who you can partner with on projects, or you're going to need old network connections that are working at places that could be, a feeder system, a funnel system for new work for you. Work comes from three places. It comes from promotion, paid advertising, cold contact outreach, right? It comes from attraction, content marketing, so attraction marketing, and it comes from referrals. It comes from networking and word of mouth. That's it. That's where new work comes from. And the networking piece is one of the most important, and the word of mouth piece is one of the most important. And it's the most, in my experience, it's the most reliable in terms of how much it can actually drive work to you. So you want to really, when it comes down to it, you want to create a wider funnel. You want to create a funnel that includes maybe paid ads, maybe content marketing, your network, your ex-colleagues, a referral system. And so you are increasing the chances that work is going to come your way. And one of the most effective ways to do that is building a meaningful network of peers. And in doing that, you leverage them and they leverage you. It's give and get. It's a win-win situation. And so that is one of the things that is the best kind of career insurance. But the question is, where do you find these people? Where do you find these folks? You might have some coworkers, right? But then when you're suddenly made redundant, you're out on your own, suddenly it's crickets, right? It's like, where is everybody? And so keeping those connections that you do have warm, but then you want to make a meaningful network connection of people that you own, that aren't dependent on where you worked or where you came from. You want to develop a peer network of support system. Some places that you can network are in conferences, so like the HOW conference, AIGA, Fuse, South by Southwest, Adobe Max, Social Media Marketing World, etc. You can do professional groups like professional organizations, DMI, the Design Management Institute, art director clubs, AIGA chapters. You can join social media groups. LinkedIn has a ton of great forums. Facebook, LinkedIn, Discord, Reddit is also amazing. And so there are lots of ways you can network, but it takes a lot of legwork. It really does. It can also be awkward and super time consuming to do it on your own. So the question is, how do you make it painless? How do you make building a meaningful peer network that works for you painless? The answer is that you want to surround yourself with like-minded, ambitious, highly skilled people and who are committed to a similar journey like you are. And that peer group is going to offer you a combination of mentorship and support and feedback and training and goal setting and accountability. Because when you surround yourself with a peer network that is people who are on fire, people who are really working it and are ambitious and are moving and shaking and learning new things and trying new things and sharing those things with their network, you can't help but catch fire too. When you surround yourself with people like that, it is absolutely infectious. And that's why I started a membership community called Bonfire. And Bonfire is a community for established creative professionals. So people who are mid to late career creative professionals, not people right out of school, not super junior newbies. It's for established creative professionals who are looking to build that kind of key peer network. And it's a membership community. So it's a subscription-based membership community. And in that community, you get mentorship and coaching directly from me. You get an instant, like overnight peer network. You get goal setting and accountability, which is what people do in these groups, and they share their goals with each other. They hold each other accountable to these goals. You get feedback, so feedback on the work you're doing, feedback on the decisions you're making, feedback on the initiatives you're planning for yourself. You also get a level of confidence in your decision making. And this is one of the things that I've heard over and over and over again from people in Bonfire and also other masterminds that I've run, is that confidence is something that they didn't know that they were missing so much of. And when they started to feel much more confident in their planning and goal setting and decision making, it changed everything for them. And they didn't feel alone anymore. And then you also get tons of resources and inspiration from the group, and you get access to partnerships. So partnerships to do projects with, partnerships to share resources with, and to make progress faster in your business. So if you want to have a meaningful network, you want to make the right decisions, you want to achieve your goals faster, joining a membership mastermind community is one of the best and easiest ways to do it. And one of the top pieces of feedback that I receive from masterminds, like I just mentioned, is faster growth and confidence. And not feeling like you're floating, like you're not really sure and you're maybe procrastinating in your decision making because you don't have anyone that you really trust to bounce it off of who understands your business or understands what you're going through. That's what you get in communities like this. One of the things I kind of want to impress upon you guys is that when you tell your clients, hey, you got to invest in branding and design so you can grow your business, right? We say that all the time. You have to invest, you have to pay money to make money, and that the return, the ROI of that branding and design is going to come. And for the most part, client companies in general spend anywhere from 15 to 20% on marketing their business every year. They spend money to make money. They invest back into their business to grow it. And so you need to invest time and money now, maybe while you're still employed, or you're looking at that, maybe going solo in 3 to 5 years. You need to invest that time and money now so your business can grow and prosper in the future. And when you make an investment, you are much more committed to the outcome. So when you buy a course, you're much more committed to the outcome. When you join a community and you're really investing in it financially, you are more committed to putting your back into it and getting value out of it, rather than having it be self-directed. So when was the last time, that's what I want to ask, when was the last time that you guys actually really invested in your own business financially? I'd love to hear that in chat. When was the last time you guys invested in your business? Because when it comes down to it, you have three options, right? You have three options. You can do what you've always done and get what you've always gotten. You may be confused, not super confident about your decisions, not ready for the cliff that's coming, not really even sure how to go about doing what I've been talking about doing. And so that's number one. Number two is you can try to improve your business and your network on your own. So what does that look like? If you're trying to do this on your own, like if you're trying to build a meaningful network of people on your own, what would that look like? What's the investment to get the benefits of a mastermind community on your own? So you could go to a conference. Let's say you start by going to a conference. A conference is going to cost you a couple $1,000s. You're going to have travel. You're going to have a hotel and meals. You're not going to be making money, while you're away at it. The cost of that in general, anywhere from, $3,000 to $4,000, right? That doesn't include meetups or networking or partnerships or feedback or goal setting or accountability or support or an online community. It doesn't include any of that stuff. It's like one conference, travel, hotel, $3,600. And then you could take people that you met at that conference and set up some Zoom meetings with them. And you could do 6 hours of Zoom, and then you needed to find the people and communicate with them and get them all on the same page and get them all on Zoom. And that's going to be a lot of communication and wrangling time for you. Say you make $75 an hour and you spend minimum $40 kind of getting this thing together. That's a $3,000 cost to you. So you put those two things together, and like going to a conference and starting to build a network, meaningful network on your own, you're talking about an investment of like $6,000 plus, right? And so when you look at the option of joining a group like Bonfire, my mastermind community for creative professionals, it is incredibly cost effective, like seriously cost effective. And I'll tell you a little about what that cost is. And so it is a group of creative professional peers where we meet on Zoom. I'll get specific around how we meet on Zoom and how frequently. And you get group coaching and mentorship directly from me. We meet 2 times a month on Zoom for mastermind sessions. We also meet 1 time a month for office hours, so just open questions and answers from me where you can get direct mentorship from me. We also do 1 time a month Zoom session where we have a visiting expert come in and do a training. And then you get recordings of all of these sessions are available if you just happen to miss any of them. You also get a private online community, which is built on the Circle platform. You have a success map, which kind of lays out your progress and where you can go and how you build a personal brand like A, B, C, D, called the FIRE Milestone Success Map. Then there's this huge downloadable list of tools and downloads and playlists and checklists, etc., that have over 75 tools in it. Now you get a discount to my Brand Strategy 101 signature course. And then you get like the most amazing peer feedback and accountability that you could even possibly imagine. And so if you join Bonfire, I guarantee you, this is what I'm going to guarantee you: faster progress, peers who have your back, tactics to get new clients, more confidence in your decision making, and a greater V-shaped skill set: finance, design, strategy, content marketing, client management, project management. All those sorts of things are going to be how you start building and absorbing the skills through this meaningful peer network. And so the FIRE milestone has 4 stages. It's foundation, ignition, reach, and expertise. And there are key progress steps and tools and resources that go along with each of these 4 FIRE milestones. It's very clearly laid out. So you can have help in building the plan of getting you where you want to go. And if you don't know where you want to go, you can have help figuring out where it is that you should best go. And then, as I said, there's like over 75 tools and resources and downloads and worksheets. A lot of them are Google Sheets, which you can make copies of and keep your copy of. As I said, it's on the Circle platform. It has its own platform. It's totally private, and anything goes there. There's no Facebook rules, and it looks kind of like this. This is what the design of it looks like. And there's a number of different spaces and groups and chats and spaces within the group that you can access and do stuff in. And what's it cost? So the base level bonfire membership, I call it membership because, hey, bonfire, right? Got to brand it. It's not membership, it's embers, right? We're all embers. So bonfire membership is $97 a month. So if you join quarterly, you get a discount and it's $97 a month. And I encourage people to join quarterly because coming in and meeting everybody who starts at Bonfire is like deer in the headlights for the first 2 meetings, right? Because you're new, you're seeing all these new people and you haven't really sussed it out yet or made friends with them yet. But before you know it, people get to know you, you get to know them, and then you're in it. And so staying in Bonfire for a number of months you're going to have to do that to get the real value of it, which gets richer and deeper as the longer you stay. And so if you go to, and then there's a higher level. The higher level is called the Guild, where you get one-on-one coaching with me. Plus, you get another 2 Zoom meetings a month. That's just with the Guild team, but it's a higher level of touch from me. So if you go to philipvandusen.com/bonfire, you can learn more about what the Bonfire community is all about. And if you have any questions in the chat here, I'm happy to hang out because it's been such a crazy tornado of tech hell today. I'm happy to take questions on Bonfire or any thoughts or concerns you have about aging in the creative industry. I'd prefer to kind of try to keep it within the focus of Bonfire, building a meaningful network, and ageism in the industry, as opposed to like a totally open ask me anything. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy if you dropped into chat. I'd be happy to hang out for a while. And again, I'm, for the ones of you who like stuck with me through both of these restarts and both of these, nightmarish YouTube tech freakouts, I really, really appreciate it. I appreciate your being here and hearing this presentation. And I really hope that you've taken away something valuable and I haven't freaked you out all too much. I've given you hopefully more tools and more inspiration and more direction, and more insight from my personal experience and my decades of working with creative professionals in both, enterprise level corporations and global agencies, as well as running my own branding consultancy and building my own personal brand for the last 9 years. Kind of been there, done that. And I've also been running mastermind groups with creative professionals and also coaching creative professionals, hundreds of them now, for the last 9 years. And so with that, I hope you guys have an awesome Friday. And one thing, I'm going to be going live a lot over the next month because I'm kind of doing a push on Bonfire, but I'm also going to be giving a whole lot of really cool value. So keep your eyes open. If you're not on my email list, then definitely jump on to my email list. Go to philipvandusen.com/muse, MUSE. And there it is. And get on my newsletter because that way you'll get alerted every time I go live, and with some valuable offers that are going to be in the works for Bonfire. So if you're interested in it, definitely get on my email list and check that out. All right, you guys, that is it. I'm hanging it up. I really appreciate your time and attention, and I hope you gathered something out of the fits and starts of this presentation today, and hoping that, I'm going to go, like I said, I'm going to go live a lot over the next month, a couple times a week at least. And so keep your eyes open and more to come. Okay, guys, talk to you later. Bye.